Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 18th day of the session, March 3rd, 2026, 68th Wyoming Legislature budget session. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Looking forward to a fantastic day. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Bear, Brady, Bratton, Brown Gary, Brown Landon, Byron, Campbell Elisa, Campbell Kevin, Chestick, Clouston, Connolly, Davis, Erickson, Filer, Bornstrom, Geringer, Guggenmoss, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly, excused, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Lean, Locke, Lucas, McCann, Nicholas, Ottman, Pendergraft, Posey, Provenza, Riggins, Rodriguez Williams, Schmid, Sherwood, Singh, Smith, Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Thayer, Washut, Wasserberger, Webb, Weber, Worf, Williams, Winter, Wiley, Yin. Mr. Speaker.
Here.
Wiley.
Here.
Knapp.
Here. All right, let's hold it open briefly while we do our opening prayer. The opening prayer, ladies and gentlemen, will be led by none other than our very own Representative Tommy Strock. Representative Strock, would you please lead us in prayer this morning?
Well, as I saunter up to the podium, so I just wanted to start out by, I was going to let you all know I have no updates, so that's good. The last I heard, babies are still doing well. So thank you. And Mama's a little, I don't think as well because my son had to go home. She's lonely. She's the whole new experience. So yeah, he has his job. So what I was going to share in 1 Kings 3, 1 through 15, you know, King Solomon asked for wisdom and discernment, and God granted it. And I do believe if that's how we should start our day every day, and I do, even at home. You know, we have large families and businesses, and if we don't start that day, I feel like a lot of times, even when things are good, they don't always go as well as they should without the wisdom from God. So if we could bow our heads and close our eyes. Dear Father, I just thank you for this time that we can all come together. And as we start our day, I would ask for that wisdom that you grant us when we ask. And all we have to do is ask. And I know sometimes we get busy and we forget. And I love that you are always a forgiving God and that you always bring us back into the fold. And as we go about the rest of the week, just be with us all. I know there's a lot of people ready to go home and a lot of people not quite feeling well. And I just ask as we go about the rest of the week, and it will be a blessing to each one of us, and we could be a blessing to the state. And in Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Fellow members, yes, join me in the salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. For those of you that haven't noticed, look outside. I tell you what, there is nothing that will make, in my business in agriculture, there is nothing that will make your shoulders relax and fall down and just refresh your spirit like a nice, soft, consistent rain. So, and those that are looking at potential for fire and all that, I mean, not granted, we are a long ways from through the year, but I tell you what a blessing from heaven I get to be in front of here as we stand in front of this window today. So Chief Clerk, if you'll please close the roll or finish, we will get underway.
Haroldson. Storer. Tarver. 61 present, 1 excused.
Thank you, Chief Clerk. Okay, Journal Committee report.
Your Journal Committee reports to the Journal of March 2nd, 2026 has been read and recommends that it be approved. Representatives Posey and Jarvis.
Thank you, Reading Clerk. The ladies and gentlemen, our nurse of the day is Miss Brittany Garnich. She will be with us here, looking after us and providing service for us if we need it. Hopefully, she will have a very lackluster, calm day, but enjoy a very, very exciting house day. So, all right, we have got Representative Filer queued up here. Go ahead, lay it on us, Representative
All
Filer.
right, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to apologize before I tell this joke, because I know
That's always a bad way to start any joke, Representative Filer.
there's a few of these folks in this building and in this body here, so I'm sorry, but I think it's a great joke. Why don't sharks attack lawyers? Professional courtesy.
Thank you, Representative Filer. So you could kind of get away a little bit with that in here, but boy, that wouldn't work in the Senate. There's a bunch of them over here, but Representative Chestick and Lawley and stuff like that. So, all right, messages from the Senate. Reading Clerk, please.
Message 240. Mr. Speaker, the Senate adopted the Committee of the Whole report failing the bill listed below by the vote indicated. House Bill 19, Corner Crossing Clarification. Ayes 4, noes 27. The bill has been indefinitely postponed. Sincerely, Ellen Thompson, Senate Chief Clerk.
All right, get that done. We are at that point of business of signing of enrolled acts. First enrolled act for our consideration is Enrolled Act number 17, House of Representatives.
House Enrolled Act number 17 being original House Bill 23, an act relating to public schools, curricular and extracurricular activities, requiring school districts to allow children not to enroll in the district to participate in co-curricular and extracurricular activities, specifying applicability and providing for an effective date, being enacted by the Legislature of the State of Wyoming.
I am about to sign in House Enrolled Act number 17, having been original House Bill 23. I have so signed. Next enrolled act for our consideration, Enrolled Act number 18.
House Enrolled Act number 18 being original House Bill 128, an act relating to taxation and revenue, providing a severance tax exemption for the Tatario oil production as specified, requiring reports and providing for an effective date, being enacted by the Legislature of the State of Wyoming.
I'm about to sign Enrolled Act number 18, having been original House Bill 128. I have so signed. Congratulations, Representative Tarver. Next enrolled act for our consideration, number 19.
House Enrolled Act number 19 being original House Bill 75, an act relating to trade and commerce, providing for the operation of virtual currency kiosks as specified, providing definitions, providing penalties, specifying applicability, requiring rulemaking, and providing for an effective dates, being enacted by the Legislature of the State of Wyoming.
I'm about to sign Enrolled Act number 19 of the House of Representatives, having been original House Bill 75. I have so signed. Congratulations, Representative Clouston. Next, Senate Enrolled Act number 34 for our consideration.
Upside down.
Upside down. Oh. One moment. Let me get some things turned.
Enrolled Act number 28.
All right, next enrolled act for our consideration, number 28. Reading clerk.
Senate Enrolled Act number 28 being original Senate File 67, an act relating to the Wyoming State Guard, removing activation of the National Guard of Wyoming into service of the United States as prerequisite for the organization of the Wyoming State Guard, removing federal involvement in the Wyoming State Guard, allowing the governor to organize and maintain the Wyoming State Guard, making conforming amendments, providing an appropriation, and providing for effective date, being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming.
I am about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 28, having been original Senate File 67. I have so signed. Next Enrolled Act, number 29.
Senate Enrolled Act number 29 being original Senate File 119, an act relating to public funds, repealing the strategic investments and projects account, providing for the transfer from and the reversion of funds from the strategic investments and projects account, revising limits on budget recommendations, making conforming amendments, amending the disposition of investment earnings and deposits as specified, repealing obsolete provisions and providing for an effective date, being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming.
I'm about to sign Enrolled Act number 29 from the Senate, having been original Senate File number 119. I have so signed. Next Enrolled Act 30.
Senate Enrolled Act number 30 being original Senate File 41, an act relating to labor and employment, authorizing the creation and use of portable benefit accounts, specifying requirements and conditions for portable benefit accounts, providing definitions, requiring rulemaking, and providing for an effective dates, being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming.
I'm about to sign Enrolled Act number 30, having been original Senate File 41. I have so signed. Next Enrolled Act 31.
Senate Enrolled Act number 31 being original Senate File 48, an act relating to public health and safety, authorizing physicians to recommend and perform stem cell therapy on patients as specified, allowing healthcare insurers to cover stem cell therapy as specified, prohibiting the State Board of Medicine from taking action against the physician's license due to the use or promotion of stem cell therapy, prohibiting the state of Wyoming from denying patients access to stem cell therapy, providing that no cause of action is created against a person properly performing stem cell therapy, requiring compliance as specified, amending the powers of the Wyoming State Board of Medicine, providing definitions, and providing for an effective date, being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming.
I'm about to sign Enrolled Act number 31, having been original Senate File 48. I have so signed. Next Enrolled Act for our consideration, number 32.
Senate Enrolled Act number 32 being original Senate File 20, an act relating to the administration of the government, requiring government entities to adopt policies for the collection, access, security, and use of personal data as specified, requiring specific personal data policies, providing definitions, specifying applicability, providing for an effective dates, being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming.
I'm about to sign Enrolled Act number 32, having been original Senate File 20. I have so signed. Next Enrolled Act 33.
Senate Enrolled Act number 33 being original Senate File 10, an act relating to criminal procedure, authorizing the Department of Health to enter into contracts with detention centers for holding and treating mentally ill detainees before a competency evaluation or restoration, amending the Wyoming Governmental Claims Act, providing immunity for persons providing competency evaluations or restoration services as specified, amending definitions, providing an appropriation, making conforming amendments, requiring reports, and providing for an effective date, being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming.
I'm about to sign Enrolled Act number 33, having been original Senate File 10. I have so signed. Next and last Enrolled Act at this point, number 34.
Senate Enrolled Act number 34 being original Senate File 4, an act relating to medical assistance and services, providing for increased reimbursement for emergency medical services under the Wyoming Medical Assistance and Services Act as specified, providing appropriations, specifying applicability, requiring reports, and providing for an effective date, being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming.
I'm about to sign Enrolled Act number 34, having been original Senate File number 4. I have so signed. All right. Reports from standing committees. Reading clerk.
Senate File 104, sponsored by Senator Scott. Higher education research funding, an act relating to higher education. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 4, education, to whom is referred Senate File 104 engrossed. Higher education research funding, respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Andrew, Bratton, Erickson, Guggenmoss, Lawley, Singh, Strzok, Williams. Excused, Representative Kelly. Representative Andrew, Chairman. This bill was re-referred to Committee Number 2, Appropriations. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 2, Appropriations, to whom is referred Senate File 104 engrossed, higher education research funding. Respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass. Ayes, Representatives Alaman, Angelos, Harrelson, Sherwood. Noes, Representatives Bear, Pendergraft, and Smith. Representative Bear, Chairman.
One moment, we got to put a few amendments in here. Hang on. Bills on second reading.
Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, Mr. Majority Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before I make this motion, I just want you to know there's a little glitch in the system. So 4 of the bills that we passed last night are still on general file, the top four bills. Those, they're working on it right now to get those up on second reading. So just be aware that's being worked on right now. But Mr. Speaker, absent any objection, pursuant to Rule 7-7, I would like to lay back Senate File 110 for 1 day.
Seeing no objection from the body, will be laid back for 1 day. Okay, going on into second reading regular. First bill for our consent file for our consideration, reading clerk, will be Senate File 21.
Senate File 21, sponsored by Blockchain, Wyoming Stable Token Amendments, an act relating to trade and commerce.
Senate File 21 having been read 2 separate times. The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate File 23.
Senate File 23, sponsored by Senator Schuler, outpatient examination and commitment length, an act relating to public health and safety.
Senate File 23 having been read 2 separate times. The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? I have a motion, something coming on. Waiting for Representative Larson. It's a question here before we proceed. Yeah, I don't show any amendments on this. Oh, okay. All right. Nope, we're good. No amendments on that one. So, but thank you, Representative, for noticing that. Senate File 23 having been read 2 separate times. Question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration, 35, Senate File.
Senate File 35, sponsored by Senator Schuler, school district, cell phone and smartwatch policies, an act relating to education.
Senate File 35 having been read 2 separate times. The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Seeing and hearing no objection, is so ordered. Next Senate File number 50.
Senate File 50, sponsored by Senator Love, state engineer, surface and groundwater study, an act relating to water.
Senate File 50 having been read 2 separate times. The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate File with amendments, Senate File 57.
Senate File 57, sponsored by Senator Brennan, transparency in hospital service pricing, an act relating to public health and safety.
Okay, we have amendments. Representative Chestick, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At this time, I'd like to withdraw second reading amendment number 1 from House Bill 50.
57.
Senate file. Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Okay. Amendment has been asked withdrawn, seeing no objection from the body. Amendment is withdrawn. Senate File 57, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for consideration, Senate File 58.
Senate File 58, sponsored by Tribal Relations, Wyoming Indian Child Welfare Act, Sunset Repeal, an act relating to Indian child welfare.
Senate File 58, having been read two separate times, question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for consideration, number 61.
Senate File 61, sponsored by Senator Jones, motor vehicle sales to family members not taxable, an act relating to taxation and revenue.
Senate File 61, having been read two separate times, question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, is so ordered. Next Senate File 66.
Senate File 66, sponsored by Senator French, donated hunting licenses amendments, an act relating to game and fish.
Senate File 66, having been read two separate times, question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate File 69.
Senate File 69, sponsored by Water, Waste and Stormwater Infrastructure Study, an act relating to water.
Senate File 69, having been read two separate times, question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no, are you fixing to object? No objection, it is so ordered. Representative Wiley.
Speaker, pursuant to Rule 7-3, I'd like to lay back 184 for a day.
81 and 84. Yep. Okay. Okay, Representative,
Speaker.
that, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Representative, 81 and 84, Representative Bear, please.
Mr. Speaker, I object to the whole laying back of Senate File 81.
81, we objected to 81 being laid back. So we'll have a vote on that one. All right. Any other objections? Okay, Senate File 84 will be laid back for one day. We have 81 will have to be voted on. And so, any discussion? Okay, seeing none, ladies and gentlemen, all those in favor of Senate File 81 being laid back for one day, please stand. Just get your legs. Yep, okay. You may be seated. All those opposed to laying it back one day, please stand. Okay, more than 14. You may be seated. Senate File 84, or excuse me, Senate File 81, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Oh, you haven't read it in yet. Go ahead, reading clerk. We had to hold it.
Senate File 81, sponsored by Recalibration, K through 12 Public School Finance 2, an act relating to K through 12 public school finance.
Senate File 81, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? As it has, oh, it has amendments. Doesn't show them here. Really? Yep. Okay, I'll need those. I've just got one. How many amendments does it have? Okay. All right. We have amendments or have an amendment. Representative Williams. Please proceed, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move second reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 81. Neighbors, this is an attempt to give my local districts a little bit of latitude. I don't believe the legislature intends to tie my district's hands or my local school board's hands. I don't believe that is our intent. But the smaller the district, the more they are bound by the categorical grant arrangement. I don't think the goal is to cut secretaries, custodians, paraprofessionals, or extracurricular programs, but these are the hard conversations that I'm having with my districts that are a direct result of moving from the block grant model to siloed categorical grants. And so this isn't a lot of latitude. 15% is what this amendment would do. It would, 85% of the money in the categorical grant would have to be used as categorized, but would give 15% latitude to my districts to where they could save some of these positions, fund some of these things that are outside the silo. And I'd just like to ask for your favorable consideration and happy to have any discussion.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Andrew, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and against this amendment, I think this amendment essentially defeats the entire purpose of the silo. I don't see a situation where they would even go this low, so I think it just basically eliminates the silo effectively. Thank you.
Representative Bear, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, this bill went through quite a bit of study over the summer. A lot of work went into getting it to this point. Of course, the other bodies made some changes and we've made some changes. One of the things that we did is we determined that the classroom is really where the money needs to be focused so that we can improve the outcomes in education. And I certainly believe that's absolutely true. And this amendment, I'm on and opposed to the amendment, simply says that the dollar amount that we've determined should be reduced by 15%, and it can be outside of the silo. Well, any money outside of the silo can be put back into this classroom anytime with the district wants to. They have that latitude. But what we're saying as a legislature is the classroom is the priority, and we've selected the amount of money. 100% is for the classroom. This amendment takes that away and makes it 85% instead of 100%. On and against the amendment.
Representative Davis, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and for the amendment. Folks, in our rural settings out there, you know, we have a different standards, if you want, or different needs and wants. You know, this bill paints a one-size-fits-all and does not allow for that flexibility that we need in our small rural communities. We're probably as close to the model as anywhere, the existing model. And to put us in this silo and take that tool away from us from our toolbox, I just don't agree with it. So I'm on and for this amendment here to give us that bit of flexibility that I think we need in our rural communities.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Ottman, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and against the amendment, one of the things that I've noticed over the last few years is we call them tools in our toolbox, but honestly, a lot of it is policy and board determination. And one of the reasons I believe that this bill came about to begin with was because we had the task and the assignment of making sure that some of our teachers were given the proper raises. And so by putting it back to the way it was does defeat the entire purpose of this. I realize working in a small district that flexibility is of the utmost importance, but also that why we're in a lawsuit and different things was because of the defense of the teachers. So I believe that this bill was produced primarily for that reason. And so I'll be a no on the amendment.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Harshman, for your first time, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and for the amendment, I think the bringer of the amendment, who represents multiple small school districts, I don't really. I'm a larger school district, but I think the issue, as I look at the changes we made to the model, we've been operating basically on the same model for about 25 years. And this change of siloing this, it's really added a lot of resources to the instructional piece. There is no doubt. It's been really good. And I think, but there's also been a part that's been taken away, and that's this support piece. There are a lot of positions that are going to disappear. And those are, those are, you know, your secretaries, your aides, those folks. And so I think some more discussion on that, maybe on, I think that's why you're bringing it. It's my understanding. That's what I'm hearing a little bit of as well. Maybe 85 isn't the right number. Maybe it's 95. I don't know. But I think just a little bit to give our locally elected school boards, because every situation is different. I mean, no two communities are the same. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Jarvis, for your first time, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When I was talking about the roles for which we're going to, how many teachers we're going to give those small districts, it's not enough to even cover their core. So when we talk about all these additional staff members, the smaller districts aren't going to get them. They're going to have to use that instructional facilitator position and that resource intervention teacher to actually just cover their science teacher or the teachers that they need to be able, their core teachers. We're not giving them enough to actually do that. So when you look at this and you look at another bill that's coming up here soon, they actually don't have the funds to enact it. We are underfunding our small rural schools. And then the one place we're pulling from is their paraprofessionals. And I don't know about you guys, but if you've ever asked a teacher who's had a para in there, if they're going to be okay if you pull them. I think some of the research that we talked about in this recal was that there's a lot of research that supports co-teaching. Guess who that co-teacher is? And it's a really cost-efficient way to do it. It's our paras. Guess when you're sitting in that class and you have a student misbehaving? Guess who goes and removes them from the classroom and gets that little human back in a space where they can re-enter the classroom successfully without ever disrupting instruction? Paraprofessionals are a lifeline in schools. They are probably one of the most underappreciated group of people that do some absolutely incredible, amazing things in classes. And this funding model actually takes them out of the picture. So when you're looking at rural schools, this model does not meet the needs of rural schools. Thank you.
Representative Heiner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If you go into the description of what an instructional, this silo encompasses, paraprofessionals is named specifically in there. We will have the latitude to hire all the paraprofessionals you ever want. It is named specifically in the silo. And in our recalibration, that wasn't in the consultant's original proposal, they were not named. In recalibration, we made specific that those were named within the silo. So within the silo, they will have the latitude of hiring core teachers, paraprofessionals, tutors, instructional aides, and they can adjust that. They can have more teachers or less paraprofessionals, or they can have more paraprofessionals, less teachers. That is local control. So paraprofessionals is included, and I just wanted to make sure that that was understood.
Any other members for their first time? First time on the amendment? Representative Thayer, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, Speaker.
Good morning, Representative
So-
Thayer. How are you?
It's raining.
It is. It's a beautiful.
5 inches in Rollins of snow. We are one happy 5 inches of snow in Rollins.
It would be lovely to have a weather report occasionally through the course of the day to let us know how much
You know.
moisture is pouring out on our state. Easy, Representative Thayer, settle down.
You know, when,
Rob?
when your husband's happy, you're happy.
Oh, yeah, truth be told, yes, right there. Representative Thayer, please, on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sorry. So I want to talk about the last two, the paraprofessionals, because I know that I had some conversations this weekend when I was home with some paras, and between our one school in second and third grade, we would need 10 paras and 260 additional jobs that are given in our recalibration sounds fabulous. But when I have 2 grades pulling 10 that they would possibly, again, these paras are a lifeline. And I do agree that on page 40, it talks about teachers, tutors, paraeducation, or instructional aides, or that's all grouped. There's only X amount of number that have to be divided. And so I am on and for. We need to let our communities, our school districts have that local control. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any other members for your first time on the amendment? Representative Knapp, first time on the amendment. Good morning, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and against the amendment. You know, this isn't a new idea, siloing. I voted against it before because coming from local government in my past, I believe in local government, but they have to be part of the solution, not just continually saying, not enough, need more. This siloing gives that flexibility within that silo to still meet the needs of the classroom. And I think that's the point, is when we look at education, the first priority is that classroom for teachers, for paras. And I think the local school districts still have that flexibility within that category, but also within other funds within the district to especially help out those rural schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Knapp. Any other members for their first time on the amendment? Representative Stivar, first time on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On or against the amendment. We keep talking about paraprofessionals, and I understand that. And my understanding is during the IEP process is where that paraprofessional is hired to work with that one student. So that's what I'm understanding is pairs for the whole class. No, they're hired through an IEP process to work with a student. So on and against this amendment.
Any other members for your first time on the amendment, ladies and gentlemen? Any others would like a first time? Okay, seeing none to the microphone, second time on the amendment. Representative Heiner, second time on the amendment, sir.
So just to be clear, this amendment is about being able to remove money from inside the silo to go outside the silo. Inside the silo is teachers, paraprofessionals, all of these instructional individuals. So just to be clear, this amendment would allow money to be taken out of that silo where we're trying to hire paraprofessionals. So if your concern is about not having enough paraprofessionals, you should be against this amendment because it would take money away from those paraprofessionals. If you want more paraprofessionals, you should be against this amendment. So I'm on and against this amendment.
Any other members for their second time? Representative Davis, sir, please, for your second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, I listening to the conversation across the body here, I hear a lot of comments. I think that this is the way it should be done. I think that this is what we need to do. Well, I'm listening to my local teachers and administrators, and they're telling me that this does not work for us in the rural. So I think I'm going to listen to the experts in my area, my locals, my local school boards. So on and for the amendment.
Thank you, Representative Davis. Representative Ottman, for your second time, please, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And once again, on and against the amendment. Having worked in public education in K-5 for 17 years, I've been in each and every one of these paraprofessional, paraeducator, substitute teacher, recess, lunch, whatever it was, duties. And what I have found is over the years to be able to say that they need so many teachers for classrooms, they would get rid of the paraeducators because the funding model was such that you needed more teachers that way. And then, so for discipline in the classroom and for all of the duties that teachers have to do if paras are not there, it is unbelievable. The teachers do not have the time nor it is not good for their preparation for their classrooms or working with those individual students that need that one-on-one if there isn't help in those classrooms. So this, from what I read on page 40, section D, it says, this is nothing in this subsection shall prohibit a district from hiring fewer or more positions than resourced under paragraph C, II through X of this section. So it helps. What I read in here is exactly what they needed. These small districts need that flexibility to place those people in those positions without the fear of losing funding. So I am on the bill and against the amendment.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Bear, for your second time, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For those of you who believe that this amendment is a good option for taking care of administration outside of the silo, I would challenge you to look at the bill itself. The evidence-based model in which the bill is built off of ensures that all of the administration needs across the districts, across the state are taken care of. And this is based on evidence, folks, not based on we need to have the flexibility to have more secretaries or more principals or more directors and things like that. This is evidence-based. So why would we ever want to rob the classroom to make funding available for those outside things that are already being paid for in the model? On against the amendment, on for the bill.
Any other members for their second time? Representative Harshman, for your second time, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just want to bring this back. This is not about paraprofessionals. It's about other parts of the education system that are outside this instructional piece. Other support people, particularly secretaries, people working in the counseling office, activities, all those kind of things. So that's part of that. And the last speaker talked about the evidence-based model, and that's what we've had for 25 years. Our current model is evidence-based. We've been using the same consultant for 25 years, the last 5 recalibrations. We did have a recalibration in 2017 that went away from evidence-based, went to a succeeding schools study, and that actually showed we needed to spend more money. And so we went back to evidence-based. So this model is the same consultants we've used before. And again, it's just the market difference is, I think, of the silo piece. And I appreciate a lot of that. As a former teacher, I think part of that's good, but I think there's got to be a little bit of room because not every one of these cookies are cut the same. And I just think, but I just want to back off the part about special education has nothing to do with this. Part about aides and IEPs, nothing to do with this. Paraprofessionals, nothing to do with this amendment. It's other pieces that go into providing these services for our kids. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Harshman. Any other members for their second time? I have room for Thayer, Knapp, Stivar, and Andrew and Jarvis. If they'd like to speak to the amendment on the second go-round. Seeing no one going to the mics, back to the bringer. Representative Williams, please, on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My good chairman of committee number 4, I mentioned there early in the discussion that he doesn't see a situation where this is an issue. But I do, and that's why I'm bringing this amendment. And I'm hearing about it from my small districts. And I appreciate, we kind of took a wrong turn at Albuquerque there and got off on the paraprofessionals, but I appreciate getting back on the road there. And these are costs associated, essential positions that are outside this category, this silo. Safety, costs associated with safety officers, food service support, costs associated with extracurricular activities, and the conversations I'm having with the folks at home, they ask me some accountability questions. If I really believe that the government closest to the people governs the best, then why am I taking away this decision-making authority from my local boards? And so I'll just pass that question on to all of us. I think it's been good for me to think about, and thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Williams. Body, you are voting on second reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 81. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment has not been adopted. Okay, before we go on to the next amendment, Representative Fornstrom, do you have somebody that needs some?
Privilege, Mr. Speaker.
Absolutely, sir. Please proceed.
Thank you. In the South Gallery, right now, we have the kids from Alvin Elementary. They were the first kids to get to explore our new civics lab down in the extension. So they're, along with their teacher, Brittany, they're here today, so give them a big hand. Go Wildcats!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the House. You guys got to be on the ribbon cutting. I don't know who I handed my scissors to, but I think I gave my scissors to your principal. I think he still has them. So whoever that was up there, that young man, welcome to the House. Thank you for being here. Representative Brown, you have someone you'd like to acknowledge.
Privilege of the floor, Mr. Speaker.
Absolutely, sir. Proceed.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we sing happy birthday in this chamber. Not great.
Poorly.
Right? Let's be real.
Best,
Okay.
poorly.
Let's be real. But where that really started, ladies and gentlemen, is we used to have an incredible voice on this floor that not only would lead us in happy birthday, but also Ragtime Cowboy Joe every night when the Cowboys or the Cowgirls played. And that voice of the Wyoming House is here visiting us all the way over from Green River. And I just want everybody to stand up and welcome back to the House, Mr. Stan Blake.
Welcome back to the House, Representative Blake. Glad to have you with us. Thank you for being here, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Representative Heiner, you have something?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I have an amendment.
Oh, we'll get ready here in one moment. Okay, next, unless I've got, no. Okay, next amendment for our consideration, second reading amendment number 2 to Senate File 81. Representative Heiner, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I move second reading amendment number 2 to Senate File 81 and ask for your favorable consideration. Members, we all know that we're in the middle of a lawsuit over our recalibration efforts. This has been going on for a number of years. The highest court in the state have stayed that for right now while we go through this recalibration process to see what the outcome is. And so what we're trying to do is make this new bill defensible. And this is one situation where our staff has said that they feel uncomfortable with right now. Where with the regional cost adjustment, we are treating one district different than all the rest. So this amendment makes it level playing field for all of our school districts with the same regional cost adjustment. We've already seen that that there's causing some strife amongst some of the school districts. There's one just south of this, of the richest county in the nation, that is saying, if you're going to do that for them, why can't we get the same treatment? So this removes it all and makes all the school districts' regional cost adjustment the same. It's based on the hedonic wage index, which is going to be updated every year and makes everyone the same, so that 47 school districts can't sue because we have one school district being preferentially treated. The second part on page 87, it moves that 105% up to 110%. What that does, the other chamber was concerned that back in 2005, a bunch of money was put into teachers' wages, and it became a feeding frenzy as the teachers, as the school districts tried to hire from each other. And the teachers' wages went really high. And so what they're trying to do is limit that so it can't run away and teachers be paid a lot more. Well, isn't that what we're all about, is getting more money to the teachers? So what they put in over there is that it could only raise 5% a year for the next 3 years. So with this amendment, I want to raise that up to 10% over the next 3 years, 10% each year over the next 3 years. There's a school district over on my part of the state where they're already making, the average salary is already above what this proposed average salary is. So they will only get about a 2 to 3% raise. By raising this up, they'll be able to get a little bigger raise for those teachers. So on and for, and would appreciate your support on this amendment.
Thank you, Representative Heiner. Representative Yen for your first time.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. So the recalibration bill is a compromise on a bunch of different areas. It really is. The siloing, I support it because it's a compromise bill. I support it because it's a compromise bill. What this amendment does is it blows up the compromise. We have a regional cost adjustment in the current model, the Wyoming model, where it's the highest of the 2005 hedonic wage index, or the highest of our ANI administered Wyoming cost of living index, or 100, the average baseline. Our consultants argued that there was, that's not the best way to do a regional cost adjustment. I argued that, frankly, it's better that we have it this way because we shouldn't be hurting school districts because their cost of living is higher. Where this is not perfect. It isn't perfect with the RCA that we have in the bill right now, but it was a compromise where it's still lower than the Wyoming cost of living index, but it puts someplace in between because the hedonic wage index didn't really capture what housing does. I heard a member in this chamber say we should be paying workers in Teton County $500 per hour because that's a living wage for them. This doesn't pay them $500 an hour. It puts it somewhere in between the cost of living index and the hedonic wage index. But if you rip this apart, you rip apart the compromise that we all put together in the recalibration bill. And so I would ask you to vote no on the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Any other members? Representative Bear for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First for a second, please.
First for a second, Representative. Any others? Representative Larson, your first time. Lloyd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and admittedly being a little slow on the uptake. So if I could get just a little clarification. I heard you say that they could get 10% each year, or so we're saying that in 3 years they could get an overall salary increase of 30%, if I'm understanding. If you could correct that, I'm getting an affirmative nod there. Thank you.
Any other representative for their first time on the amendment? Second reading amendment number 2, Representative Harshman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question for the bringer of the amendment. So we've always had the cost of living index or the hedonic wage index, and sometimes we've had a third index and whatever kind of fit, and those were compromised over the years. So how does this, does it take away the old hedonic wage increase, hedonic index that we've had, or I see it's updated, but I guess I just want more information. And Teton County has always been that outlier. And that's why we've stayed with the hedonic and not gone solely with the cost of living index. But maybe explain a little more what these changes are to the hedonic wage index and specifically how it's going to impact Teton. I think it's only one district it's going to impact because it's just such an outlier. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Any other members for first time? First time on the amendment? Seeing Representative Provenza, first time on the amendment, ma'am.
First for second.
First ever, Representative. Thank you. Any other members for the first time? Representative Storr, your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First for a second.
First for a second, Representative. Any other members? First time on the amendment, second reading amendment number 2 to Senate File 81. Seeing no others running to the microphones, second time on the amendment. Representative Larson, please, second time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the presenter of the amendment. I think what this is doing is acknowledging that for our public employees, we've been behind the 8 ball on the wages that we've been paying them. You'll recall that in the conversation on our state employees, there was this huge pushback when we came with the proposal this year because some of our state employees had received a 20% wage increase over a period of time, and there was a lot of pushback so that's why we shouldn't do any more. As a result, I think, and through conversation, we've admittedly understand that 20% was still below where it should be, and with the increase in salaries and compensation we give them this year, it brings them up to 2024 model. That was a very important position for this body to take, and an acknowledgement on that argument of the 20% increase of wages. This is also acknowledging that we're behind on our teacher salaries, and that this percentage, this 30%, still may not be where it needs to be, but that we've been behind on our compensation packages for the teacher. And sometimes just that percentage number doesn't really tell the whole story. So I appreciate the bringer of the amendment, and I support it.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Baer, for your second time, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the amendment, for the amendment, and on the bill and for the bill, ladies and gentlemen, this bill and this amendment are critical so that we can take our responsibility and complete it. This is something that has not been done as scheduled per the courts for 15 years. We must do this. And the reason we must do it is so that we can maintain our authority and our responsibility. Should we not pass this bill and this amendment, it could be another branch that makes these decisions for us. Our attorneys have told us that the compromise, which was brought by the good representative from Teton County, the compromise is what our attorneys have said is putting this effort at risk. We're passing this bill so that we can get in line with what the courts have determined this body should do. Let's not put it at risk by opposing this amendment. Vote for the amendment. Let's put this bill into the best shape possible to win in court so that we can go forward with our responsibility and our duties. Vote aye.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Yin, for your second time, sir.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Members, it's really frustrating to hear that members are speaking for our attorneys, saying that this is the opinion that our attorneys gave them, because our attorneys never gave me that opinion. When I talked to the consultants, when I came up with this compromise, they said that this actually works really nicely because with the WCLI and hedonic wage best of formula, there's kind of a cliff effect. So if one switches to the other, then there's a big change in how much the funding happens. What we put in the bill has no cliff effect. The way hedonic wage index works is it's a fit of the entire state. So they try to fit the entire state and put it in this one index model that they try to put every county in. One county does not fit in the best fit. So you have this county where the cost of living is way outside a fit of the rest of the state. So you have this formula where it doesn't give them the WCLI. It tries to put in some of that hedonic wage where you say, oh, mountains can pay for your cost of living a little bit. And then if the whole state can correct where the whole state starts to fit better in the hedonic wage, where it gets updated every year, then they slowly go closer and closer to hedonic wage until they're right at hedonic wage. So the formula works where if there is no longer an exception where one state's cost of living is way outside the rest of the state's cost of living, then it works better and everyone gets fit into the hedonic wage index. I would argue that, frankly, if we pass it without this amendment, I can't speak for my school board, but I know that there will be a lot. I mean, I am very certain that there will be a lawsuit on this bill if we pass it with the amendment on it. So I would ask you to vote no on the amendment. Let's pass the bill, which is a good bill. It's a very good bill without this amendment and keep moving forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Storr. No, there you go. Second time, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to divide the amendment.
Please, how would you like to divide it?
So the first part of the amendment would be lines 1 through 10. And the second would be 11 through 14. And I'd like to
Do you want to note
go,
which division?
I would like to go with the 11 through 14 first.
11 through 14 is Division 1, and 1 through 10, line 10 is Division 2. I would agree that it is divisible. Representative Storr, which division would you like to take? Division 1 first, lines 11 through 14.
Yes, please.
Please proceed.
So the purpose here is to recognize that the
Mr.
increasing
Speaker,
flexibility
Mr.
for
Speaker,
Just 1 second. Representative Barry, you have a question?
I'd like to challenge your decision to make this divisible. I don't know if we need a rules committee or not, but I do believe that the Division 2 is a replacement for Division 1. And by dividing it, you've duplicated the effort of the amendment. Not sure that financially it can be duplicated.
Well, we can discuss that. As I look at it, we're looking at two separate issues. We're talking about the percentage that can be allowed to wages increases per year, and also with the cost of living adjustments. So if you'd like to call a rules committee, we can certainly bring her up here, ladies and gentlemen. We can take a look at it quick.
Mr. Speaker, I'd call a rules committee.
Absolutely. Let's have a rules committee. Members, if you would stand at ease briefly, rules committee, if you would please assemble at the dais, we'll go over this, see if we can sort this out. The chamber will come back to order. After discussion with the Rules Committee, as chair, I will rule that the division is in order. And so,
Mr. Chairman,
Representative Bear, please.
Mr. Chairman, I wish to challenge the chair and debate the issue so that the body can vote whether to override the chair or not.
All right, thank you, Representative Bear. We will certainly do that. Okay, that challenge is debatable. So with ruling with the chair will mean at the end of this that you support the decision that I have delineated that this is a divisible amendment. If you vote no, then that will take my ruling, overturn that, and it will not be divisible. So debate begins. Representative Bear first, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not sure I agree with you about the ayes and noes, but we'll take your guidance on that. But ladies and gentlemen, here's my contention with the division of the amendment. The first portion of the amendment is what's in the bill now, and the amendment is attempting to delete that. So Division 1 is the deletion of what's in the bill now. Division 2 is putting a new process in place, which is going on a percentage. So if we do not delete the first part, which is in the bill now, Division 1, if we fail to pass that portion, and then we do pass Division 2, we'll have two laws in place in one bill. If the bill passes with that, what will the courts decide based on our actions? There will be two different laws that we will have determined that we should follow, and they will be in conflict. And based on that, I do not believe it's divisible. You must replace the current methodology with the new methodology in the amendment at once. You can't fix it any other way other than to come back with an additional amendment in a later reading, which means that the amendment is not divisible. And Mr. Speaker, I believe I brought the motion, so an aye vote would be supporting
Yeah,
my
we're
motion.
trying to sort that out, Representative, right now. That's about as clear as mud. We're going to be careful here.
Yeah,
So
that's my.
we will get this determined so that nobody misunderstands exactly. how
Thank you,
we're
Mr.
doing it.
Speaker. Yeah,
We've
my
got- she's
contention-
actually running to the bullpen right now to make sure that we're on the right track.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yep, yes, sir. Representative Provenza, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like the bringer of the objection to point out exactly where the conflict is, because we're hearing there's a conflict and that there would be two conflicting portions of legislation, but I suspect he can't point to a page number or a line.
Representative Yen.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. And so this is what I said in Rules Committee, which is what can each of these amendments stand alone? And that's always the question when an amendment is divided. When you divide a motion, the question is, can each division stand on its own motion? So if you saw the first amendment number one, division number 1 by itself as an amendment, could it be a valid amendment? And if you saw division number 2 by itself as an amendment, could it be a valid amendment? The answer is yes. I mean, I think, and so from my understanding, that's the reason why the speaker ruled in that it is divisible, because each of these amendments could be separate amendments. If you saw them as second reading amendment number 1 and second reading amendment number 2, they would be valid amendments. And so that's the only question that you have to answer on whether an amendment is divisible. What the court says on the constitutionality of the bill is what we decide. But frankly, I think the bringer of the objection is just wrong. You can have, you can keep the RCA as it is, and you can have this 105 to 110 by itself as well. There's no conflict. Both of these amendments can stand on their own. I would ask you to vote against the objection and with the ruling of the chair.
Okay, Representative, and just for clarification's sake, we got the clarification from the bullpen. An aye vote in this situation would be for Representative Bear to override the chair. A no vote would be for the chair in holding and maintaining my decision that this is divisible. And if that's clear as mud, I'll say it again in a moment. Representative Larson, or Representative who would like to be first? Representative Larson, Lloyd, on the amendment.
Yes, thank you.
On the
Mr.
challenge,
Chair.
excuse me.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I don't think I don't support the challenge, because as I go through, and the bringer of the amendment talks about regional cost adjustment being filed, being in for one, and it was a plural. And we do away with that so that all districts can be, their compensation can be impacted by regional cost adjustment. Has nothing to do with, that's a separate issue than what you find in section 6, which is the school district shall establish a teacher salary schedule. Now that schedule is going to be influenced by regional cost adjustment, no doubt, but then we do away with the 105 and move it to 110%. Two different issues, two different mechanisms, two different sections in the bill. Bill reading 101, right? And so I think the speaker got it right that this is divisible.
Okay, other members debate on the challenge, motion to challenge the speaker. No others? Okay, members, you are voting on a challenge of rules set forth. We will have the good chief clerk take the roll. And again, okay, and I vote, ladies and gentlemen, agrees with Representative Bear's challenge to my decision on the rules, which would basically negate my decision that this is divisible. A no vote in this situation will support my decision as speaker that this was divisible. So an aye is with Mr. Bear, a no is with Mr. Speaker. So you choose. Chief Clerk.
Allemand, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Bear, Brady, Bratton, Brown Gary, Brown Landon, Byron, Campbell Elisa, Campbell Kevin, Chestick, Clouston, Connolly, Davis, Erickson, Filer, Fornstrom, Geringer, Guggenmoss, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly, excused, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Lean, Locke, Lucas, McCann, Nicholas, Ottman, Pendergraft, Posey, Provenza, Reagans, Rodriguez Williams, Schmid, Sherwood, Singh, Smith, Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Thayer, Washat, Wasserberger, Webb, repeat, Weber, Worf, Williams, Winter, Wiley, Yin. Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Heft, no to aye. Allemand, aye to no. Brown Gary, no to aye. Further changes? Andrew, aye to no. Wasserberger, no to aye. Further changes? Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 19 aye, 42 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have said that the speaker got it right. So that has been rejected, and we will continue on. Representative Storr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So on Division 1, which is lines 11 through 14 of the amendment, this just provides greater flexibility for school districts using their average salary to go from 105 to 110, and recognizes that that is something that's helpful in terms of determining what their salary schedule will be. So on and 4.
Thank you, Representative Storr. We have Provenza and Harold's. Let's see.
Point of order.
And Harshman. Yeah,
Point of
Representative
order,
Yen.
Mr. Speaker. So Because these are now new divisions, it's first and second.
Oh, that's right. We are back on because we split it. So we're working
Correct.
on division number 1, which is line number 11 through 14. Is that correct? Okay. All right. Any other members want to speak on division 1? First time, Representative Yin.
So, Mr. Speaker, no conflict on division number 1. I'm fine with division number 1. My concern, again, is with division number 2. So I'll vote aye on division number 1.
Okay. Any other members on division 1? Now, bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this is lines 11 through 14 is division 1. So what we're chatting about here. So any other members want to just debate on division 1? Okay. Seeing none. All those in favor of division 1, lines 11 through 14, please say aye. All those opposed, no. Okay, division 1 has been adopted, has passed. On to division 2, Representative Storr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Division 2 is the piece that is really problematic, that really just frankly destroys the whole concept behind the recalibration bill. That was a series of compromises that recognize that each school district has its challenges. And what I think my colleague from where the mountains are pointy had come up with what was a reasonable way to put in a regional cost adjustment that at least kept my constituents actually able to just hire teachers. It really comes down to that. And without that language that recognizes that we include the cost of living index for Wyoming, not just the hedonic wage, that we just won't be able to hire teachers at the salary level that this bill would require. So this is about equity. It's about fairness. It's about recognizing each district has its challenges. Small schools have their challenges. Places where the cost of living is remarkably high also have their challenges. So this was what the compromise was, to create a bill that I think we can all support, but this really does destroy that compromise. So on and against. Thank you.
Any other members for the first time on division 1? Representative Bear.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I recommend an aye vote here, folks. Again, same argument. Our attorneys have told us that this is iffy, dangerous. We just voted to increase spending in Division 1. So let's make this right here in Division 2. Vote aye.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Yin, your first time.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Again, it's dangerous to speak on behalf of our attorneys. Even when I spoke privately at the end of our last recalibration meeting, when we had the bill set in stone, well, not set in stone, sponsored so we could bring it to our chamber, the consultants actually told me that this is something that made sense. And I suspect that if this does end up going to court, if we adopt this amendment, that'll be something that we talk about. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Representative Brown. Landon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I keep hearing our attorneys, our attorneys, our attorneys. I'd really like to get that in writing. And I'd like to get to a point where if we have privileged and confidential information that's being shared with some members of the body, if the rest of the body could be privileged enough to get that same information. Because I understand what they're saying. I understand that the conversation that is being brought here is that we're trying to get equitable. We're trying to fall in line with this. But ladies and gentlemen, let's be clear about what we're actually doing here. We are in the middle of a lawsuit. And if there is members in discussion with our attorneys and they're claiming to be the voice of our attorneys, I think we should all have access to that same information. And I'd be really, really curious if that information is being provided only to one or two people, because I would venture to guess that our attorneys, if they have weighed in on this, have made sure that that's privileged and confidential information. They probably don't want us talking about that on the floor and what their status is going to be looking like as they move into a courtroom. I can't imagine that that's not the case, but I may be off there. On the other side of things, putting in the exact same regional cost adjustment and going to the exact same model across the board puts us exactly back where we were when Campbell 4 was discussed, ladies and gentlemen. That is actually what got us in trouble with Campbell 3, Campbell 4, if you go back and read those discussions. You're saying that we no longer recognize that it costs more to provide an education in Teton County than it does in Niobrara County. That is patently false. That's what this amendment is trying to erase, is to say, oh no, it costs the same and we're just going to continue to provide the same level of education and the same amount of money to both counties. That is what got us in trouble the first time with, well, second, third and fourth time, I guess. This is a dangerous, dangerous road for us to go down. But again, if I can be convinced that our attorneys are telling us that this is the right way to go, I'll eat my words and I'll vote for it. But I'd really like that information to be shared with the rest of the body as opposed to being the voice of our attorneys out on the floor through one or two people.
Okay, Member Representative Heiner, your first time, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Appreciate that. So what is the regional cost adjustment? It recognizes that the cost of living is different in each region of our state. So this hedonic wage index, it looks at housing, transportation, all the different concepts of what it costs to live in a different part of the state. That had not been updated since 2004. So part of our recalibration is our consultants updated that regional cost adjustment to recognize there are different costs in different regions. Teton County, based on the science, was 33% higher than the rest of the state. The regional cost adjustment adjusts all of those model components by 33% higher. In my part of the state, it raised it up 12 and 13% because it's that's what this regional cost adjustment figures. So the evidence-based model coming from our consultants said that we should follow this updated hedonic wage regional cost adjustment. We deviated from that and said, we need to deal with this outlier because we want to give them some additional money. So how much right now in the bill, that one school district will get $6.9 million more than they're getting today in the current model. If you approve this amendment, they will get $740,000 less than they're getting today. So do we raise it up to be $6.9 million higher than what our evidence-based model said it should be for that one school district? I'm sure all of your school districts would like $6.9 million extra, wouldn't they? Or do you treat them all fairly and base it all on this regional cost adjustment that was based on consultant science, based on the cost of living in each one of these locations? Yeah, the first year they'll have $700,000 less than current, but that's only on the first year. It'll catch up after that. So I'm on and for this part of the devised amendment.
Thank you, Representative Heiner. Representative Harshman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Two things. I think if that is the case, and I appreciate the good majority floor leader talking about, if it is $700,000 difference, which I think we're gonna have more discussion on that, I would not pass this amendment for that. This is what you call a bill killer. This is coming this far in the process, a lot of compromise to get here. But it's fairness does not mean equal. And I heard the word fair come out, and I think that's going to be a big part of this. So be really careful as you consider this amendment. And please vote no. And I will say, I think the good representative from Campbell County, I think, spoke well in the body about let's be really careful with our LSO staff. And Mr. Speaker and members, you think back to the early 70s when members were here writing their own amendments and we had no staff. And we were ranked as the worst legislature in the country at all 50 states. And we've come a long ways, and our staff is a nonpartisan, and they've been under enough attack here in the last week or so. And I think we've got to be really careful about bringing them onto the floor with our debates and anecdotal statements like consulting with staff. Staff tells us we have to do this. Be careful. That is not what they signed up for. That's not their job. And let's keep this on our debate, what you think as a representative of the people. And so I appreciate that. And please vote no on this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Any other members? First time on the amendment, Division 1. I've got Representative Provenza on the amendment, first time.
Just first, second.
First, second. Any other members? First time on the amendment? Seeing no others running to the microphone, Representative Yin, second time. Division
Mr.
1.
Speaker, thank you. I appreciate the majority floor leader talking about what the hedonic wage index says for Teton County, which he said it was 33%. If you pay 33% when our cost of living is closer to 200%, you are underpaying teachers. You are underpaying teachers. I think we all understand that the cost of living in Teton County is higher than other parts of the state. Again, we heard a member from Laramie County say we should be paying folks $500 an hour to work in Teton County. We're not paying them $500 an hour. We're not going to pay them $500 an hour, but it understates the idea that the cost of living is higher. This doesn't match the Wyoming cost of living index the way the RCA is in there now. It's actually quite a bit below the Wyoming cost of living index, but it figures out where's a good place in between to settle that is a smooth line that doesn't have a cliff effect, and we figured that out. I'm not sure why we would explode it now. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Yin. And I misspoke. We're on Division 2, just so you understand. We took care of Division 1. We're on Division 2. Okay, second time on Division 2. Seeing no one going in the microphones, I have Landon Brown, Representative Heiner, Harshman, Provenza, and Bear. If you'd like to speak. Seeing no one, Representative Storr, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just add that part of the debate in looking at these two different ways to measure a regional cost adjustment, the hedonic wage and the Wyoming cost of living index, the hedonic wage is not at all transparent. It is created by a private individual, and they are very proprietary about that. And so we can't even see how they arrived at the numbers that they did. Compared to the Wyoming cost of living index, which is quite transparent, where you can look at all the different inputs and how they got to the numbers that they did. So mostly for just transparency sake, as well as fairness, it makes sense. The language that's in the bill currently was a compromise in itself from the current situation where counties are allowed to use the Wyoming cost of living index. So this really is just a question of being able to pay our teachers at the end of the day. So please vote no.
Okay, body, you are voting on second reading amendment number 2, Division 2 to Senate File 81. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Chairs in doubt, please stand if you are in favor of Division 2, second reading amendment number 2. Okay, you may be seated. All those opposed, please stand. Please stand and stand still. Okay, you may be seated. The amendment has been adopted. 34-24. All right, next amendment for our consideration, ladies and gentlemen, second reading amendment number, turn this back, second reading amendment number 3 to Senate File 81. Representative Harshman, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Speaker.
Speaker,
I'd
sorry.
move second
Mr.
reading
Speaker.
amendment number
I'm
3 to Senate
sorry.
File.
Representative, we've got something going on in the back there.
Yeah.
Representative Yin, please.
Mr.
sir.
Speaker, pursuant to our House rules, I would like to lodge a protest to the House.
Lodge a protest of the House.
Yes.
Okay, what is the rule you're citing?
I will look up the rule, but I mean, it's just a protest of the House, protesting an action of the House. I would protest that the action of the House, that the action that we just took on the recalibration bill makes our recalibration bill unconstitutional if we pass it as is. And so that's my protest, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, we got that? All right. It's all good. Yep, it's all good. All right, thank you, Representative Yin. Okay, Representative Harshman, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and sorry I couldn't quite hear that, the good representative from Teton. I'd move second reading amendment number 3 to Senate File 81. Members, this is, so the healthcare savings to the state then are about 63 million because we're not gonna block grant and employ, because what's happened is we've been underfunding salaries, and so they hire fewer people to pay them more so we can actually put people to work and they don't all go to our neighboring states. So part of that has been also, those are called ghost employees. Now, 98% of the money has gone to its category. We know that through the crew report. 98% of the teacher money has gone to teachers, just fewer teachers. But part of that teacher money has been, that ghost teacher money has been ghost health insurance. This bill takes that away. And I think I'm okay with that, members and Mr. Speaker, because it's starting to fund the salaries at where they should be. Okay, so when we passed an amendment yesterday that will do these employee counts every month, I think is a good amendment. But I think the part we're missing is really how we're going to count an employee. And what we passed yesterday says that a part-time 20-hour a week up to 3/4 or 30 hours a week, we will, as a state, pay for half the insurance. They'll be half-time. But once they hit 3/4, 30 hours a week, we'll pay the full insurance. And I just want to, and I think that's fine. That's what we're doing with state employees. But I think thinking about our schools, it's a little different because we have a lot of these 20 to 30 hour employees who come and cook the meals, who perform other tasks and are part-time employees and are really, they're not getting paid a lot, but they're doing it really for a health insurance benefit, many of them. That's a big payment to them. And so I'm concerned then when we want to pull this back from those half-time employees and say you're only going to get half that benefit. And then, you know, how does that affect the whole thing? It's kind of a change of what we've done. So, Mr. Speaker and members, it would basically just change that. 0.5 would be rounded up. So that half-time worker would be rounded up in that employee count that we do every month. There is a biennial change in the appropriation, about 10 million. And we're saving, I think, is it 63 million a year? It's a tremendous amount. So we're still going to save a bunch of money in the healthcare piece, but I think we're not going to change that policy, which has been on the ground here for years. So that's why I bring that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Harshman. Any Representative Andrew?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and against this amendment, I think it's pretty standard in most employment situations that you don't get healthcare until you pass a 30-hour threshold. I think that this goes too far. I think the solution has been worked on and refined pretty well, and I would ask that we stick with what we have. Thank you.
Any other members for the first time on the amendment? Second reading amendment number 3. Any other members? Seeing none? Okay. Representative Andrew, another bite, or are you good? We're good? Okay. Representative Harshman, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I just want to address what the good chairman said. You know, remember before his amendment fixed this yesterday, it was really wacky. I mean, it was a point percentages, and we were afraid that maybe even teachers wouldn't qualify for full-time health insurance. So I appreciate him bringing that amendment yesterday to fix that. But this is an issue in every one of your schools, and it's going to affect employment of people in every one of your schools next fall if this bill goes into law. And so I just want us to think about that. And we got another reading on this, but I think this would be a real stability piece for that, for those workers in our communities who are working that 20 to 30 hours. So please vote aye. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Members, you're voting on second reading amendment number 3 to Senate File 81. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Amendment has not been adopted. Okay, Senate File 81, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a 3rd time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Representative Larson. JT, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. According to Mason's Section 480, I move to rescind our decision to lay back Senate File 84. It requires a majority voice vote, and it's debatable. Members, we thought that there was amendments on it. There's no amendments on it. Just the system had a glitch, and I think it should be able to go through the process. So, yeah.
Really? All right. Well, any debate, any discussion on this proposal? Representative Harshman, like he just got shot out of a cannon. He's at the microphone. Representative Harshman.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I had no idea that the motion to lay that little bill back a day was coming. So I was really delighted because I think all of us have a few amendments on that little bill. And I really avoided saying that little stinker, but that little bill, Mr. Speaker. So I would hope we would lay back. It won't harm it any. We got plenty of time, but it gives us more time to work to try to improve it, because that is a big time individual bill that will have ramifications for all of our citizens. And so I'd just lay that thing back and let us keep working on it so we can get our amendments ready for 3rd reading. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Representative Lawley.
Mr. Speaker, and
Yes.
I might be talking about the wrong bill.
This is
That was
84. This is Representative Harshman, just for information's sake,
Mr.
this is
Speaker.
Senate File 84, Voluntary Water Conservation Program.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, it is not. What was that other one? It was
81.
81 was
That's
my
what we've been
favorite bill.
talking about, yeah.
81 was the bill I was dreaming about all night.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Speaker. And I'm really good. So this one, let's vote on that.
You're good, you're okay to go back to, okay, all right. Representative Lawley, can you beat that?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I cannot beat that, but I was so ready to talk about that. But no, Mr. Speaker, this is a select water bill. It's an important bill. And we did have some glitches this morning where things from general file were still on there that we had actually passed. And now you'll see that amendment is removed because it was a standing committee amendment, which we adopted in general when we did our general file last night. So it really should have gone ahead and breezed through with all the other second reading. And so I'm on and for getting this passed through so it can be on 3rd reading tomorrow. I don't expect any amendments on this bill, to be honest with you, but it's a really important select water bill. And it was actually a confusion about amendments that caused the person to lay it back. So I just ask for your aye vote on reconsidering that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Representative Lawley. Representative Rodriguez-Williams, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and for the motion. Just curious, the bringer of the motion mentioned we thought that there was going to be amendments. I was just curious if you could elaborate a little bit more on that. I'm not sure if I missed a whip around my desk or not.
I think it was on the website is what we saw, was what it was on the website. So Representative Wiley, please, sir.
Mr. Speaker, body, I apologize, and ditto to all of the folks getting up to talk.
Okay, now you heard from the guy that caused all this. Now we know how to vote. So we're good. Question, all those in favor of putting 84 back on the second reading consent list signify by saying aye. Thank you. All those opposed? Okay, all right, well, you lost, so we're gonna put it back on the consent list. So, all right, thank you, body, appreciate. You know what that tells me, though? Now stop and think about this. People are paying attention, and they're watching what's going on. That's a good thing. So it's all good, ladies and gentlemen, it's all good. Thank you, Representative Larson and Representative Wiley, for keeping an eye on what's happening and keeping us all on the same track. All right, Senate File 84. Reading clerk, it gets its chance.
Senate File 84, sponsored by Water, Voluntary Water Conservation Program, an act relating to water within Wyoming's portion of the Colorado River Basin.
Senate File 84, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate File 95.
Senate File 95, sponsored by Senator Pappas, Drivers and Motor Vehicle Services, third-party providers, an act relating to motor vehicles.
Senate File 95, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for our consideration, 102.
Senate File 102, sponsored by Senator Boner, Wyoming Energy Transmission Study, an act relating to Wyoming Energy Authority.
Senate File 102, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate File 110. Well, let's see, that's the one that's been laid back. Okay, now wait a minute. Steady, steady. All right. Okay, we're all right. Senate Joint Resolution number 6.
Senate Joint Resolution number 6, sponsored by Senator Pearson, Shared Parenting Day, a joint resolution designated April 26th of each year to be Shared Parenting Day in the state of Wyoming.
Okay, Senate Joint Resolution number 6, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Representative Chestick.
It's too late now, but my point of order was that was considered yesterday. It was on the list. I thought that we covered that yesterday. Doesn't matter now, we've done it. So either way, it's on the third reading now.
Yep, we're good. All right, thank you, Representative Chestick. Yes, I think we certainly can. Okay, Representative Heiner, Majority Floor Leader, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Absent any objection, I move the following third reading consent list consisting of 5 Senate files, Senate File 14, 26, 90, 105, and 107.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, are there any bills any members would like to pull off of the consent list? Representative Andrew.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate File 14.
Senate File 14 will be removed and taken to regular reading, third reading. Any other bills? Going once, going twice. Okay, I have Senate File 26, 90, 105, and 107. Reading clerk, can we please read those bills, sir?
Senate File 26, sponsored by Travel, Game and Fish Property Tax Exemption Amendments, an act relating to taxation and revenue being enacted by the Legislature of the state of Wyoming. Senate File 90, sponsored by Senator Brennan, School Facilities Use Fees, an act relating to education being enacted by the Legislature of the state of Wyoming. Senate File 105, sponsored by Senator Jones, Real Estate Brokers, Duties and Disclosure Amendments, an act relating to real estate brokers and salespersons being enacted by the Legislature of the state of Wyoming. Senate File 107, sponsored by Senator Nethercott, Motor Vehicle Registration and Plate Issuance System, an act relating to motor vehicles being enacted by the Legislature of the state of Wyoming.
Thank you. We're getting everything ready to go, and we will call the roll. I'm very impressed that you guys haven't started singing or whistling the Jeopardy song. Yep. See, I should have said nothing about it.
We're good.
Okay. Senate files 26, 90, and 103 and 107 haven't been read 3 separate times. Question is, shall the bills pass? Chief Clerk will please call the roll. The list is 26, 90, 103, or excuse me, 105 and 107.
Allemand, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Bear, Brady, Bratton, Brown Gary, Brown Landon, Byron, Campbell Elisa, Campbell Kevin, Chestick, Clouston, Conley, Davis, Erickson, Filer, Fornstrom, Geringer, Guggenmoss, Haroldson, Harshman, Piner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly, excused, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Lean, Locke, Lucas, McCann, Nicholas, Ottman, Pendergraft, Posey, Provenza, Riggins, Rodriguez-Williams, Schmid, Sherwood, Singh, Smith, Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Thayer, Wasserberger, Webb, Weber, Worf, Williams, Winter, Wiley, Yin. Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 61 aye, 1 excused. As for Senate File 26, are there any changes? Singh, aye to no. Strock, aye to no. Brown, Gary, aye to no. Angelos, aye to no. Lean, aye to no. Wasserberger, aye to no. Pendergraft, aye, excuse me. Pendergraft, aye to no. Tarver, aye to no. Bratton, aye to no. Allemand, aye to no. Johnson, aye to no. Knapp, aye to no. Locke, aye to no. Guggenmoss, aye to no. Heft, aye to no. Winter, aye to no. Weber, aye to no. Riggins, aye to no. Rodriguez-Williams, aye to no. Ottman, aye to no. Lucas, aye to no. McCann, aye to no. Schmid, aye to no. Webb, aye to no. Brady, aye to no. Heiner, aye to no. Campbell Kevin, aye to no. Further changes? Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 34 aye, 27 no, 1 excused. As for Senate File 90, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Pendergraft, aye to no. Further changes? Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 60 aye, 1 no, 1 excused. As for Senate File 105, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 61 aye, 1 excused. As for Senate File 107, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Bratton, aye to no. Further changes? Johnson, aye to no. Banks, aye to no. Further changes? Strock, aye to no. Further changes? Weber, aye to no. Further changes? Brady, aye to no. Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 55 aye, 6 no, 1 excused.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the House, Senate File 26, 90, 105, and 107 have passed the House. All right. Mr. Majority Floor Leader.
I think we're all hungry, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, it's been
I move that
heating
we
up if it didn't smell
recess
good.
until 2 p.m.
Okay, committee announcements, anything from our committees? Representative Bear.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your committee number 2 will be meeting tomorrow at noon recess in Capitol Room E301 and online to discuss interim topics. We will be meeting with our Senate counterparts.
Thank you. Representative Byron.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Mr. Speaker. Your Travel, Recreation, and Wildlife Committee will meet at 12:30 down in 005 to discuss interim topics.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman Locke. Revenue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just reiterating, your revenue committee, your joint revenue committee will be meeting on adjournment today to review interim topics down in the, I believe it's meeting room number 5.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman Knapp, number 7, Corpse.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Your number 7 corporations will be meeting on adjournment for lunch with their counterparts in E006 for interim topics.
Thank you, Chairman. Any other? Seeing none, you've heard the motion of the good majority floor leader. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Okay. No, you guys don't sound very hungry. Okay. House will stand in recess until 2 p.m. Seriously, not kidding you.